one item on our to-do list, the NDAA. Unfortunately, Senate Republicans, after blocking votes on 19 amendments that were agreed to by the chair and ranking member, blocked the Senate. Now, let me give you a little bit of detail here, because I find that sometimes that's left out. Oh, the bill was defeated, they're all fighting. Listen to this, okay? How bipartisan this was. Okay, it was brought first, Inhofe and Reid worked together, completely together in committee. There were, I've got to get the number here, hold on. There were, well, I think it was 243 amendments, many of which were bipartisan, that were agreed to. They've been working together in that regard. 321 amendments, 143 bipartisan. The bill came out of committee 23-3. Then, in preparation for debate on the floor, the managers worked on a substitute amendment which had at least 50 amendments, 27 of them from Republicans. Senator Inhofe, the ranking member, worked with Democrats. It was a Reid-Inhofe agreement. It wasn't a Democratic agreement. It was a Reid-Inhofe agreement. On top of all that, they also reached a bipartisan agreement to hold 19 amendments here on the floor before Republicans blocked it. Now, here's the point that I hope you will tell American people about. We offered more amendments than all of the amendments that the Republican majority offered together in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Okay? There were 2 amendments in 2017 when McConnell was leader, 5 in 2018 when he was leader, 3 in 2019 when he was leader, and 7 in 2020. So the number of amendments offered exceeded all the amendments offered during the 4 years when McConnell was leader. So the idea that this wasn't fair, that this was not giving due course to Republican concerns, is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Republicans blocking such an accommodating and common-sense path forward used to be unimaginable. It wouldn't have happened under any other Republican leader. But it's another example of dysfunction. The Republican Senate is in dysfunction because certain renegade members seem to get whatever they want and are never reined in. Never, even on something like the NDAA, which is something we've always done in a bipartisan way and came to the floor in a bipartisan way. But we're not giving up. We're going to keep going forward. The objection of a handful of Republicans won't deter us. So we hope to get some kind of agreement on the NDAA, but it's got to be an agreement that's fair, that's balanced, and that has a path to quick closure. We're not going to drag this on for 2-3 weeks. We have too much else we have to do. Also, by the end of the week, both parties must come to an agreement for funding the government and avoiding a needless shutdown. With so many critical issues to be addressed before the end of the year, the last thing the American family needs right now is a shutdown. The House is working to send us a CR that will fund the government until early next year. Senate Democrats are ready to pass this legislation, get it done as soon as possible. We'll also continue working with our Republican colleagues to do it, to move a CR quickly, so we can keep the government operating and avoid a needless holiday shutdown. But let me be clear again. If a handful of Senate Republicans choose obstruction, there will be a Republican-manufactured shutdown caused by Republican dysfunction once again in their caucus. I hope Republicans will not take the country down that road. We urge Republican colleagues to work with us. And as I have said to you before, my goal is to have the Senate take action to debate and pass the President's Build Back Better legislation before we hit Christmas Day. As soon as the necessary technical and procedural work with the Senate parliamentarian has been completed, it continues on through this week. The Senate will take up this legislation. As Senate Democrats are continuing to meet with the parliamentarian, and once that's complete, we're ready to move Build Back Better to the floor. As I've said many times, no one should expect legislation of this magnitude to be easy. We've been working at this for several months, but at this point, we're closer than ever to lowering the cost of childcare, making pre-K universally accessible, cutting taxes for working and middle-class families, and taking the next bold step in the fight against climate. We have a lot to do before the Christmas break. We'll keep working until we get it done. Senator Durbin.
What is the job of a United States Attorney? There are 80 of them in the United States. They represent the Department of Justice in every state of the Union. There are several in my state. It's one of the most important jobs when it comes to law enforcement, one of the most important jobs when it comes to the administration of justice. Under the Trump administration, those 80 U.S. attorneys were proposed by President Trump's administration to the Congress, to the Senate Judiciary Committee, which I chair. Of those 80 that were proposed by the Trump administration, every single one of them went forward without a hearing and without a record vote. All 80 Trump U.S. attorneys were approved. Oh, how many were delayed by the Democrats in those days? One for 1 week. That was it. And all it took was a voice vote to approve him at the end of that week. What we're facing now is the opposite. The Republican senators, at least one in particular, have decided to stop the U.S. attorneys, but hold tight, just those in Democratic states. Stop the appointment of U.S. attorneys in Democratic states. It's the first time we've run into this in modern history in the Senate Judiciary Committee, but it's a further indication of how far they will go to stop nominations, whether they're judges, U.S. attorneys, ambassadors, or key members of the administration. And that is what we are facing. The Senate cannot exist without mutual respect and some level of cooperation. I've been here long enough to have seen a lot of it, and I've seen it as it is breaking down right now. The question you've asked, all of you have asked me one way or another, and asked everyone else, when are you going to finish your business? When are you going to get down and work together and get this done? Well, we're trying, and we have to. We do need a CR. It's been 10 years since we've had an ordinary appropriations process. Bills come to the floor. Anybody here remember the good old days when you actually had an appropriation bill on the floor? Hasn't been one in the Senate for at least 10 years. Now we're facing a CR just to keep the lights on of the federal government during the Christmas season. To get it done, we need the cooperation of the other side, a bipartisan effect. And when it comes to the debt ceiling, need I add that 80 or 90% of this debt ceiling is about debt incurred under the previous President Donald R. Trump? And the Republicans refused to even step up to vote for a debt ceiling extension on appropriations they voted for their president. That's what we're up against. So it's fair for you to ask about the results here, but it's also important, if not essential, that you tell the whole story. We are prepared to act to finish the National Defense Administration Authorization Act, as well as the debt ceiling, as well as the CR, and we know we bear the burden on the reconciliation bill as well. But let's tell the whole story about one party that is trying to get something done and another party that is not even reaching the historical level of cooperation necessary.
Senator Murray.
Thank you. You know, even after the great progress we've already made for families this year in the American Rescue Plan, we got shots in arms, we helped schools reopen safely, helped our small businesses, and of course the bipartisan infrastructure bill to continue our economic recovery by upgrading our ports and our roads and our bridges and easing pressure on supply chains. We still have a pretty busy month ahead of us, as you all know, and families are counting on us to fight this pandemic with everything we have, especially now as we learn more about the new Omicron variant, which has made it more important than ever for people to get themselves vaccinated, get their kids vaccinated, and get their booster shots ahead of the holidays. They are counting on us to continue building on the strong economic recovery we've seen so far with the policies that put more money back into their pockets, and they're counting on us to protect their abortion rights and make sure people can get reproductive health care. And they're counting on us to pass the policies we've been fighting for so hard in the Build Back Better, to lower costs and build our economy back and get people back to work. We have plenty of work to do. We're going to get it done, even if Republicans would rather play political games like dragging out the process on a bill that supports our troops and repeal the 1991 and 2002 authorizations for the use of military force. or like making it an open question whether the government will stay open over the holidays and whether or not we will take action to avoid a credit default, which would be unthinkably catastrophic to our recovering economy and to families across this country. Republicans may be focused on these political games, but the American people, they are focused on realities like why it is so hard to get child care, whether or not they can afford their prescriptions, and how we can stay safe and continue the progress we've made coming back from this pandemic. So are Democrats. That's what we're focused on. We may have a lot to do, especially after Republicans spent so long doing so little, but we are going to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Stabenow.
Well, as we know, this is 11 months into new Democratic majority and a new president. We have been working so hard and, frankly, getting so much done, it feels like 11 years. But it's actually been 11 months that we have been moving forward, sometimes with bipartisan support and an awful lot of the time with the Republican leader and their caucus dragging their feet, as we know, on appointments, now on the NDAA, on issue after issue, trying to slow down what we're trying to do to put people first. But it's been 11 months of putting people first, not just the wealthy and the well-connected in this country, but all Americans, from the American Rescue Plan that has saved hundreds of thousands of lives and put money in people's pockets and allowed them to survive, and small businesses to survive, and schools to begin to open safely, to an Innovation Act that was bipartisan, to an infrastructure bill that was bipartisan, and now to the rest of the story we're going to get done by the end of the year, which is addressing the costs that people feel that really keep them up at night and that have kept them up for a long time, like prescription drugs. We're willing to do what's necessary to take on the special interests, to cap insulin costs at $35 a month. And we won't get one Republican, we're told, that will support capping insulin prices for families at $35 a month rather than hundreds and hundreds of dollars. We're told we won't get one vote to bring down the cost of child care or focus on workforce development and ways to help people get back into the workforce to be able to successfully go back to the workforce where we have had millions of jobs created in the last 11 months. So we're committed to doing whatever needs to be done to move the country forward, to right-size the tax system so everybody's contributing. Everybody is contributing to America, using those funds to lower costs and invest in the future for our children. That's what we're about. With or without the Republicans' help this last month, we're going to get things done that make a difference in people's lives, and that's what we're committed to.
Thanks, Senator Stabenow. Manu. Wait.
You keep saying this question is time frame to get this bill.
Yes.
Senator Manchin has not committed to that time frame. You met with them today. Has he given you any assurances that he'd be willing to move forward on this bill before Christmas?
We've had a good meeting with Senator Manchin today. We mainly talked about climate issues, and we're going to get this bill done with 50 Democrats before Christmas. That's our goal. Yes, next. Well, as I said, we're going to get it done with Christmas, and our goal is to get all 50 votes before then. Yes. I couldn't hear your... Well, look, I agree with what the President said in terms of people getting vaccinated. I think he's taking good, cautious, and peremptory action on the new variant. And I hope the American people, I've said this yesterday to New Yorkers and to Americans, get vaccinated. The reason these new variants keep growing is they grow among the population that is not vaccinated. It gives the variant the ability to get started and then multiply, mainly in unvaccinated people. So even if you say, well, I don't want a vaccination for myself, by not being vaccinated, you are actually creating the sort of agar, if you will, for variants to grow. So get vaccinated. Yes.
Thank you, first of all, my condolences.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you sent me a note. I appreciate it, Chad.
Yeah, so the question is here, with the debt ceiling, Leader McConnell says, the two of you have been talked before here. Do you sense a softening in his position, considering the hard line he drew back in October after he lifted the debt ceiling?
Look, I think that first, Leader McConnell and I are having good conversations on this. I'm not going to get in details. We have not come to an agreement. Anyone who says there is an agreement is not correct. But I think that what we need to do is come up with an agreement that doesn't risk the full faith and credit of the United States. It's never been risked before, in a way that both parties can support. And that's what we're achieving. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Mayor Schumer, will the Senate definitely address the debt limit in December?
Look, we're going by Treasury's guidance. They say right now December 15th, so we have to address it by then. We'll go by Treasury's guidance. Yes?
To what degree are you engaged in discussions or negotiations about specific elements of Build Back Better now? I know there's still parliamentary issues to work with, but things like paid leave, are you confident you can keep that in?
Look, I'm working with Senator Murray, Senator Gillibrand, Senator Stabenow, and many others. We want to see paid leave in the bill.
Leader Schumer.
Yes.
Quick one on the debt limit. Will it be done through reconciliation?
As I said, Leader McConnell and I have been having very good negotiations, or I would say good negotiations, and don't want to oversell. And the bottom line is we hope to come up with a bipartisan agreement that both parties support that doesn't risk us in the debt limit. Last one, yes, right there, standing on your tiptoes.
With the rise of Omicron, are you
I couldn't with the rise.
the Omicron variant? Sorry. Are you considering additional legislation to address that? We've heard the administration may want as much as $16 billion to address
Look, I think that it would be foolish for us not to try and address this in a timely way. I have not heard that the administration has not asked me for anything at this point, but if they do, I would hope we would follow their lead, look at it carefully, but follow their lead and get something done. Thank you, everybody.
Correct.